Welcome back to our channel. This is a different adventure, I think. So when we moved to Troy 6 years ago, we bought an older home, and I went to the Troy Historical Society to just research, get some information on the house and who lived here, etc., because it was built like in 1903. So while I was there, I was talking with a lot of the ladies at the Historical Society who was helping me with research, etc. And I don't even know how we got on the topic, but she had mentioned that there is a lawyer in town that wrote lots of books about different court cases in Troy, Ohio, and Miami County, basically. So they talked about one, and that's what's going to be the video. I found the book so intriguing. I'm a pretty slow reader, and sorry about that. And this book I couldn't put down. So the book is called The View from Above by John Fulker. And it's about a murder that happened in Troy in February of 1926. And I think part of what I found intriguing is it didn't happen too far from our house. So I'm going to be telling you a little bit about it. I'm not going to give all the details because I hope that people go out and read the book. It's only like 130 pages long, maybe a little longer than that. And it's a quick read, I think. I'm actually reading it for the third time again. And so I'm going to show you some of the places that are in the book, and hopefully you'll go out and get it from the library or buy it from an online store or whatever. This isn't any kind of promotion for Mr. Fulker's book, but I just found him to be a fantastic author, and so I hope you enjoy. Maybe I can go more in depth into more areas of the book, but I don't want it to be like a spoiler. So hopefully you'll subscribe and follow. I guess that's the same thing. And make comments and like the story I'm going to tell you. And we'll go from there. Thanks for watching. So this is about where the story begins. This is Union Street, and it says in the book that Sheriff John Sherritts lived on Union Street near the railroad track, so I haven't exactly found out where it is, but I'll have to do some research. So this is where the story begins that night. So basically at the middle of the night, Chief of Police Sherritts gets a phone call that there's a murder, and he needs to go investigate it. It's at Fran and Jake Nesbitt's house. Jake Nesbitt had called his next door neighbor, Mr. West, and he called a local doctor, and he called the police station. So the police station contacted Chief of Police Sherritts. And I think it's interesting to think of. Back then, the chief of police had a department-issued bicycle. So he rode his bicycle to the crime scene. So that sort of tells you what a small town it was back then. So I'm going to take you on sort of the drive I think that he took. That makes the most logical choice. And you'll see what his ride was like. So I am just assuming that I'm in the right vicinity. Just because I'm near the railroad tracks, and he lived in a clapboard house near the railroad track. So this morning when I was going out and sort of investigating, that's the closest location to railroad tracks that I could find. So obviously this all wasn't here at the time, because we're talking 2022. So he had a little bit of a ride, and so what happened? Jake and Fran Nesbitt worked for KitchenAid, who makes the mixers. It was part of, I think it was called the Troy Metal Works Company. It was a division of Hobart, and they actually lived, I would say, sort of like right by where all the executives were of Hobart. So we'll go. We're going to their house. I'm not going to have you sit and look at the traffic light. So I don't know exactly how many miles this little trip would have taken, but I would say on a bicycle in February, it's probably as cold as it was today, or is today, and probably was probably a quick ride. So the Nesbitts both worked for KitchenAid. Jake had left early in the morning. His wife was still asleep. There was a show down in Dayton that they both were attending. So Jake went down there for the day and was to meet his wife. So we're now turning on to Ridge Road, which is where everything happened. So on the morning in February, Jake went to the show. He had gone down to the cellar, stoked the coal a little bit, left the basement door open so that he could pull some stuff out. He had to bring some accessories for the show, for the mixers, and some recipe books, etc. Went and loaded up his car, left his wife a note, basically, hey, see you later on at the show, etc. And he left. So in this general area, based on the Google information that I know, this is about where the house was. Over here, apparently there was some garages, because Jake pulled his car from the garage up so that he could load the equipment that he needed for his product show that he was going to. So he went to the product show and made a few stops along the way. He grabbed something to eat in town, etc. And then his wife left the show early. She was going to go see a show in Troy at, I think it was like Keith's movie theater. Some kids had seen her there. Both of them were very well known in the area. Keep in mind that Troy was a very small town in 1926. So Jake comes home and goes into the house, or goes up to the house. The key to the house isn't where it should have been, and found that the front door was unlocked. He walked in. He had seen some blood in the living room area. He walked back towards the bedroom and saw more blood. He went into the bathroom, and that's where the real massacre was. Fran was in the bathtub in a white nightgown, just blood all over the toilet area, the bathtub. Obviously, there was blood in the bathtub itself. He then made his phone calls. I'm thinking that this was the house of Mr. West. So Mr. West was an attorney for Hobart, and obviously they knew each other. He called Mr. West. He came over, he called the doctor, as I said, and he called the police chief. So the thing that's sort of interesting is that this was such a big nationwide story that this Ridge Road was backed up with gawkers and people from Cincinnati and Indiana and Columbus, etc. So Mr. West comes over. He helps Jake out with whatever he could do. Jake is obviously distraught. Just a whole mess. The sheriff comes, doctor comes, the county sheriff shows up, and they just, talk to him, do their investigation. There was some detectives from down in Dayton that came up to do more searching and collect data, etc., or evidence. Really didn't find much. They basically searched the whole house, except one area. You'll find that in the book. Maybe if I get enough views on this one, maybe I'll give more details of it. So, about the only thing they found was that the coals in the furnace were cold, and they did find a piece of blue material there. Now, they thought that might have been the blue dress that Fran was seen wearing earlier on in the day, but they actually found that dress later. So it wasn't that. Jake and his wife actually had some old college friends visit on the Wednesday of that week, and they stayed at the house. Jake and Fran slept in, I guess, what we'd call our family room or our living room, whatever. And so they were interviewed, and really nothing came from that they knew of. So that's the area where the murder supposedly took place. In the book it says, hey, they made a nice subdivision, which they do have back here, a subdivision that's in place, but based on the address, that's about the area that it was. The one thing I found really intriguing also is that this was such a big deal, and as I said, so many gawkers and people coming from other cities. They had to deputize other people that weren't really police. They only had like 4 policemen. They had to keep a constant guard for evidence sake. And, people were taking things off of the house. They had to board up part of the house so that people can peek through the windows. Those boards got taken off as souvenirs also. I just got sidetracked, but basically the house that they actually lived in, it was moved somewhere in Troy. I haven't found out where, but it was remodeled, etc. It just seemed like it was such a thing that people just kept wanting to come see that they literally had to move the house. So it's somewhere in Troy. I'd love to find it someday. I don't know if you can actually find those records. There's a guy that I work with at our local church breakfast that he says, I think they moved it over here. Well, based on the pictures that I see on the book, etc., I can't make out a house like that. So probably was too renovated if it's from 1926 and now it's 2022. So I just wanted to show you, Hobart's still a very, very big company in Troy, Ohio. They're owned by another company, but they were really, really big into welding, industrial machinery, etc. So this is where their local headquarters are, just to give you a scope of the area. I doubt this is where the headquarters was, but this is sort of where this was. So I'm going down Ridge Avenue, and this is where a lot of the Hobart executives lived. A lot of these houses are still here. Obviously some are newer, but just to give you the scope of it. Mr. West's house was obviously very large, and the Nesbitt's house was pretty small, but they lived right along where all the executives lived. So obviously with any court case, it all winds up at the county courthouse. So this is the Miami County Courthouse, just an unbelievably gorgeous building. Really wished that I've been in there, but I haven't yet. I actually was a juror on a case, but I was stuck over in that building over there. So I don't know how many actual cases they have in this courthouse, but just so neat to see old architecture, and it's so well kept up. So this is where the case would have ended. So after they did all the interviews at the house, Jake went back to his mother and father-in-law's house and stayed there with their family. The investigators really weren't finding anything. There wasn't any kind of fingerprints or anything to be able to figure out who killed her. And I think that obviously with all murder cases, there's lots of speculation, and obviously the husband is going to be a suspect. Jake had secured a lawyer in town, but he was more of a corporate lawyer. They brought in another lawyer later on, just as to take care of more of stuff that was murder related and not corporate law. Then there was a gentleman that they brought in from Cincinnati. He worked for a private detective agency, or a Slater. He came up and just researched a lot of things, went with Jake on lots of different leads, etc. And eventually he solved the case. And I'm not really going to tell you much more than that. I really highly suggest you read the book. It's a very, very good book. And I don't know, it was very interesting. And as I said, the fact that, we moved up here, really didn't know the town, and it gave me a chance to get to know a little bit more of the history. So I hope you sort of like what I showed you, and that if you're new to the channel, that you'll subscribe and see other things that we do. I don't know if this was really an adventure or not. Not in the veins that we've done before, of different places we've gone. And we've got a lot of other ones that we need to actually post for different trips we went on. But I just thought it was something different, and it's obviously something that I thought was really, really intriguing. And I hope you like it. And please leave any comments or questions that you have, maybe suggestions of other things that you'd like to see, and maybe we can accommodate that. So thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, all those things you're supposed to do on YouTube channels. And thanks for stopping by, and your support of the channel. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.